Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, and so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show. Booyah!
All right, now we back at it. We back. Shout out to y'all for letting us know what was good. We got the title and everything good. But the gist of what we are saying here, let's go ahead and break this down. Breaking news, as we told you, Roger Goodell has finally spoken, and he's reiterated what a lot of people thought all along. He's at the owners' meetings, and he spoke to media, and he gave one of the reasons why he is officially in public saying, guys, we want a year. So this is the tweet that came out from Mark Mask. He says, Roger Goodell on the NFL continuing to seek a full season of suspension for Deshaun Watson in his appeal. And the rationale is because we've seen the evidence. The disciplinary officer, Sue Robinson, was very clear about the evidence. McNuggets, this is what we thought all along. We thought that they were going to go for a year. We finally have Roger Goodell on the record stating, obviously, yes, we want the year. Your thoughts, Al?
I mean, at first I wasn't surprised. I saw the notification pop on my ESPN alert and said, well, yeah, that's what we've been reporting, and that's what everyone's been reporting since the get-go. I mean, Sue Robinson in her 16-page report said the NFL wanted a full year, so that's what the expectation was. But to hear Roger Goodell say it, to hear those words actually come from his mouth, and to say from Goodell's lips and vocal cords into the atmosphere that Deshaun Watson committed multiple egregious acts of what they considered sexual misconduct, puts it a little bit into perspective of how much they are trying to take down Deshaun Watson and how much they're not willing to settle for whatever Sue L. Robinson decided. It was 6 games, and that was the judge and the arbitrator that both sides agreed upon. And frankly, the NFL says, screw it. We don't care what you had to say, Sue. We respect your decision. We respect respect's not the right word. We respect your taking part in this process, but you didn't do what we wanted. And we're going to go and find someone who's going to do what we want. And I'd be shocked now, after hearing Goodell use the language he used, if Peter C. Harvey doesn't come out with such a harsh punishment that it makes anything we've said over the last couple of weeks, G, look silly. I think it's going to be a stupid punishment. I think it's going to be at least 17 games now, a full season, and maybe even more.
See, this just goes to show you right here. This means the media is not on their job. The media in general came out and talked about the optics and they had to get a better deal and they had to do this and they had to do that. And the reality of the situation is the league did exactly what they wanted to do from Jump Street. The process has been corrupt. The process has not been just. They did not operate in fair and good and operating under fair judgment or trying to do what they should have done, which is get a person that comes in the middle and says, hey, guess what, guys? I know I didn't get all I wanted out of the suspension. Deshaun Watson thought he shouldn't have got any. We had a fair arbiter. We had somebody that was in the mix that heard all the information and the facts. And I don't get this. I don't understand how he can sit here with a straight face and cherry pick her judgment. Talk about she said it. It was egregious. It was over the top. This is why we did what we did. But she also reprimanded you, Mr. Goodell, on what you're doing exactly what we're doing right now, which is trying to whip up some sort of public sentiment so it makes you look like you have not done anything or your process or your policy is a little bit heavy-handed when it comes to players as owners, and you didn't do a good job of explaining it or implementing these policies. And she pointed that out as well. So if you're going to talk about one, talk about the whole situation. And how is he going to say, well, she proved it? Well, if you're going to take that, don't you got to take the judgment she gave with it? You can't say she said something and then take away the 6 games and say, well, we like that part, but not that part, McNuggets.
Yeah, well, it's crazy to me because, G. Bush, this is what you've been saying the whole time. Since I've been in Cleveland, you've been saying this. The NFL does not want to go to federal court. And to me, this signifies that is where we are heading. The NFL is going to go as far as they can go within their right to give Deshaun Watson the harshest punishment possible. And how does Deshaun Watson and the NFLPA going to respond to that? They're going to say, okay, if that's your move, our counter is taking you to federal court. And let's see the dirty laundry list from Robert Kraft, from Daniel Snyder, from the John Gruden investigation. And this is going to turn into something, I think, significantly uglier than any of us could have imagined when it started. And our expectation for where this started, G, was very high on the ugly scale. No one thought this was going to come out looking like roses in a pretty situation. We all assumed this was going to be a kind of knock him out, drag him out fight. But this has turned into, a strawweight fight on the UFC. This is now a heavyweight bout between like Brock Lesnar and John Bones Jones, like two of them going at it, because there's no way this ends pretty. It's going to turn into a terrible situation for Watson. It's going to turn into a terrible situation for the NFL. They're going to have all their dirty laundry hung out to dry, and I personally don't believe they've acted in good faith on a lot of these cases, as you have so eloquently pointed out in the past. And for Watson, hell, this happened. I guess here, real quick, this is kind of tangent. This is where I struggle the most with this. Watson was accused of all these things, or accused in all these situations happened in 2021, in 2020. It's now halfway plus through 2022.
Correct.
There was a lot of time for some of this stuff to work itself out, a lot of time for the NFL to bring this to the level we're at now. And it just seems weird to me that the timing, we are approaching the start of the season, and I understand the NFL does everything is calculated. This is not random, but I don't know, man. This is going to end up being a knockdown, drag-out fight, and it's not going to end anytime sooner. This drags into 2023, 2024. I'm not going to be surprised. This is going to go that far into federal court, and you know how slow the federal court system works.
I mean, but how dumb are we? Like, and I'm not talking about, Deshaun Watson or the public. I swear up and down, there's a lot of dudes. I understand it in the media. Y'all think one day y'all gonna wake up and Roger Goodell gonna knock on your door and say, you're the greatest local guy I've ever heard in my life. You're going to come on up here to the NFL Network, and we're going to sign you on up, and you're going to get that multi-dollar deal. You're going to get to golf with me and Dan Snyder and everybody else, and we just going to have a great time. Because there's a lot of these media dudes that look like they are stupid. They are playing dumb. Do not play dumb. How the heck can you be in a position to ask a question? And the obvious question is, hey, you just are trying to throw the hammer down, but you have an organization that handed out NDAs. You have an organization that have already paid 30 women off. You have an organization that has swept that under the rug, kept it moving, and yet and still you talking about what's egregious. How can you separate one person from getting sued and the Texans got sued? Why is no one asking that question? Does Roger have those guys on NDAs? If you're in the media, you have a responsibility to ask these questions. It's not up to you in your heart of hearts to say, well, we ain't worried about that. We're going to worry about Deshaun. Because what I'm trying to say is that's your job. Your job is to say, hey, there's some inconsistency here, Roger. Can you speak to that? McNuggets, we look at this moving forward. 151 people in the chat. Make sure you guys hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Make sure we can get this out. We're going to be talking about this from a lot of different angles coming up tomorrow, and basically getting this thing out here and moving it and kind of breaking it down. But we thought it was good to come on and kind of preemptively talk about it a little bit. What angles do you think we're going to approach about this tomorrow, and how we can dissect this thing?
I think first and foremost is, are we surprised that Roger Goodell actually answered the question? He could have deflected. He could have said nothing. He chose to speak. He chose to answer the question, and Goodell, for as much as we may not like him, is very calculated in everything he says. He chose the word multiple egregious acts, and I don't have the exact quote in front of me. Let me pull it up real quick. He said multiple egregious actions were predatory behavior. That is not light vocabulary. That is dropping the hammer. That is indicating that they are willing to go, in my mind, as far as it takes to get what they view, and we can disagree on what is or is not, but what they view is the proper punishment. So I think tomorrow we'll get into, why did he answer the question? Did he have to? Does this ruin any chances of a possible settlement? We had Charles Robinson on today, and he said today, which I thought was brilliant, there is some scorched earth between the NFL and the NFLPA, and any talk of this possible settlement negotiation, that's why the expedited process is taking so long, is off the table. It's not going to happen. When he says this, there's no way it's happening. There's no way now. There's no way you come back from that.
I really do think about it, and this is coming a direct quote. It talks about this a little bit in the situation. It says Goodell revealed that the league is still seeking a full season suspension for Watson. When explaining why the NFL is seeking such a harsh punishment, Goodell pointed to Robinson's ruling. Because we've seen the evidence. She was very clear about the evidence, Goodell said via Mark Mask. She reinforced that the evidence that was there was multiple violations here, and that they were egregious and also was predatory. Well, if you're going to say that, Mr. Goodell, you also have to say she was very clear about what she had as far as the suspension. See, this is hypocritical behavior. Actually, I wouldn't even, it goes back to this. And I think the Players Association is at fault here a little bit. And we talk about this a little bit too, McNuggets. The Players Association is at fault here because they've let Deshaun Watson hang and dry for weeks and months and weeks. And he's been peppered by Busby. He's been peppered by Roger Goodell. He's been hit with multiple things by multiple media members that are in prominent positions. And not only has Harden, where is Rusty Harden at? Is Rusty Harden asleep? I mean, come on, dog. Like I'm pretty sure you getting paid just as handsomely as Busby is. Even Busby comes back and comes with the tag team, the double jump off the ropes, McNuggets. He says, hey, Mr. Goodell, it's still time for you to do the right thing. That was a love tap. That wasn't even no hammer. I'm like, where's your counsel? Where have they been at? Where they been at, McNuggets?
Well, you've also asked, what are we going to talk about tomorrow? What does Sue Robinson think right now? I mean, without like I don't want to say anything that comes off the wrong way, but they should have used her. And she was a pawn in this whole piece, this whole chess game of, you know what? We're going to choose a woman to overhear this as a neutral arbitrator. We're going to agree on this. When, frankly, they might as well have chosen me or you, G. Bush, because it didn't matter at all what we said. It was getting appealed. If she started out 17 games, Watson's camp was going to appeal. We'd be back. If she gave no games, the NFL was going to appeal. 6 games wasn't enough. I think the whole process we know is screwed up. And it's collectively bargained. It's in the CBA. That's why it is what it is. And until they have a new CBA, it's not going to change. So, yes, we can scream and yell all we want, but that was actually agreed upon by the Players Association, which was a terrible decision, as Tyvus has so eloquently pointed out over this whole week. I cannot believe, I really cannot believe that they had it in the CBA, that they agreed to just let Roger Goodell be the judge, jury, and executioner, or at least have godlike power to choose exactly who he wants to be in the seat.
I've never seen this before. And let me give y'all this too. I'm gonna tell you, I worked in corporate America, and I'm gonna just let y'all know honestly how this thing goes. See, there's a perception that these two are enemies. There's a perception that these two are arch nemesis, and they go at it and they fight and drag it out. Have you ever saw that episode with the Wile E. Coyote, right? With the sheepdog with the eyes over his head, the sheepdog, the white one with all the fur over his face, right?
Keep talking. I'm back in 1 sec. Keep talking.
The whole doggone time. Here's what they do to you. You got the sheepdog. The sheepdog is over there chilling. All of a sudden, the coyote is running around trying to get the sheep, and they like, oh man, these guys are, the dog is beating the brakes off the coyote. He's doing everything he can to get some of these sheep, and this sheepdog is not having it. And they kick each other's tail, and they go at each other for a whole doggone episode. And then at the end, they punch the ticket and say, all right, I'll see you later, Sam. I'll talk to you later, Vern. Same place, same time. These dudes is co-workers. These dudes go to the same charity events. They make the same type of money. They at the same type of golf outings. They are part of the NFL infrastructure. And if you think for 1 second DeMaurice Smith ain't been rubbing shoulders and elbows with these guys the whole doggone time, you got to be one thing mistaken, because he hasn't even showed his face. That can't be a strategy, McNuggets. Can't be. It just can't.
No, I'm no legal expert. I won't try to pretend to be. All I know is it seems like after they settled with the Texans, after the Texans settled with all 30 cases against them, which, by the way, Charles Robinson, again, if you haven't listened to the interview today, I thought Charles was phenomenal. He's so connected in this situation, absolutely worth going back and listening to. But he mentioned the Texans felt there was enough evidence against them and enough on the table that they had to go out and settle. They went out and settled. Watson has settled everyone but one case now. Like, the disconnect it's not equal. The disconnect is not equal. And yeah, you're right. They should be asking the Texans questions. And if they go to federal court, I am sure the Texans will get dragged into this somehow. But I can't get over the fact that Sue Robinson was a pawn in this. It's almost like if we were playing, 2-on-2, right? Mm-hmm. And there's 4 people in the gym, and Michael Jordan in his prime is one of the people. And I say, all right, I got first pick. Take an MJ.
That's a crazy example. That's crazy, bro. That is crazy. That is exactly what happened. They ain't even trying to hide the situation. And you know what? Another thing too. The book 1985 in this country, if you haven't read it, they used to make all people read it in the country when we came up. They talk about the climate in the day that we in. Right now, people are so good at gaslighting you. They make you think that you crazy for not understanding what's going on. So let me get this right. The grand juries, as my man Raw Status TV says, the grand jury, 2 of them, this is what counts in this country. First of all, they attacked it and said, just because they didn't bring any charges doesn't mean he didn't do anything. Stop with all the semantics. We should have been cutting people off right then. Whoa. It's like saying, that's like saying, just because it didn't rain today doesn't mean there isn't moisture in the atmosphere. Yeah, that moisture didn't touch the ground, so it didn't rain. Don't talk about the semantics. Then they try to make it seem like the NFL's process was so much more official. All you had to do was get Judge Sue Robinson, and that was going to supersede everything. So then the judgment comes down, and all of a sudden, yeah, she said Deshaun did some stuff, but she also claimed that you did some stuff and gave a judgment. You say, we don't like the judgment, but we do like the other stuff that you gave us to bolster our argument. So we'll take that and run with it. The rest of it, let's go ahead and get rid of that. Then you go to your boy, who actually helped this guy, the Harvey guy. He helped write the collective bargaining agreement, right? He half wrote the conduct policy. What do you think he's going to say? And then we're sitting here talking about, well, we're going to go through the information. We're going to give out the notes. And stop the charades. This stuff that we be doing in this country is crazy, Big Nuggets. And I tell you what, at the end of the day, if anybody, and this is what we should be doing, if anybody keeps talking about this and, well, you shouldn't have did anything, I don't understand how you can see somebody. If I go to a bank and me and you is in cahoots, if I shoot somebody and they die in that bank, you know what? In this country, you are on the hook for at least manslaughter. It don't matter if you shot the gun. It don't matter if you was the getaway guy. You get what I got, because you know what? We tied at the hip. If you was never with me, you would have never had that opportunity to even be in the vicinity, and you would have been guilty. But that's just what we're doing now. It is. It's just crazy. It is.
Yeah, and I just went back and I scanned over some of the stuff from Sue Robinson's report. And it does seem like in her report, she said Watson did some things he shouldn't have done, but based on the personal conduct policy the NFL has established, she cannot give him more than 6 games based on the precedent set by the NFL. Now the NFL comes back and says, screw precedent. We're going all the way. We don't agree. We agree that he did something, as you stated. We don't agree that it fits into the former precedent. So now I'll steal a phrase from UG. It's like the goalposts are on rollerblades. They're not just inching side to side. They are now officially swerving from one corner of the end zone to the other corner of the end zone. We can all agree. Listen, was it criminal what Watson did? I don't exactly know. He was not charged. Two grand juries said it wasn't criminal. Was it probably past the line of what we should have done? Yeah, I think he did some creepy stuff, possibly. I don't know for sure. The only people that know are Watson and the women.
Mm-hmm.
But based on the precedent the NFL set, I think Stu Robinson was fair to say, hey, he may have done some stuff that he shouldn't have been doing, but 6 games is what you have set the precedent to for how this works. And now, if the goalpost was in the end zone, now it's on the 40-yard line. And they're saying, guess what? We don't care. All we care about is scoring a touchdown, and maybe we're playing arena football now and not NFL-sized field. I'll go back. I said this before. I'll say it again. It is crazy to me that anyone ever agreed, no matter what else was in the CBA, to give Goodell the power to overrule a neutral arbitrator agreed. To give him the final say in all of this will forever baffle me. And I don't know who the CBA, the NFLPA president was when they agreed on it. I could ask Tyvis. It is crazy to me that they ever agreed with that in the CBA to whatever else was there. That is the craziest point.
Well, here's what I'm going to say. I got a little bit of a conspiracy theory. Well, let's keep it real. There's sometimes you just want to cash checks. That's what it is. Sometimes, I always think about this nice little cool dance we do in this country. You got to really have two sides to something. So, if you got the Decepticons, you got the Autobots, right? If you got good, you got to have evil. You do this little dance back and forth, and at the end of the day, guess who's rich? Roger Goodell. At the end of the day, guess who's rich? DeMaurice Smith. And guess who's rich? All the lawyers that get to come in and fight these cases. I just think about it, out of all of this that goes on. He's talking about the shield. I urge people. I said it in my video. Roger Goodell is the biggest flaming hypocrite I've ever seen in my life. I don't like hearing his voice. He wrote in a statement. And you know what? The great thing about this is I have capabilities, and go ahead, take this, McNuggets, because I want them to see the statement as well, so they understand that we not faking in front. Sometimes you got to show people. In terms of this, how we gonna break this down tomorrow? What is next for the Cleveland Browns, and what do you think about the way that they're gonna go about this in this groundbreaking news?
Yeah, just tomorrow on the show, like I said, we have Leroy Horde and Zach Jackson from The Athletic coming on tomorrow. Jay will also join us virtually. So we'll break this down from every angle possible. What's next for the Browns? Why Goodell answered the question and used the words he used. What's next for Watson? I think personally, if you're asking me, I think it's business as usual for Watson. I don't think any of this is in his hands. He has nothing that he can do or say. He's going to keep practicing. He's going to keep playing until they tell him he can't play. He's going to get ready for this preseason game on Friday. It looks like, according to all reports, he's going to play at least a series or two on Friday. And as who said it yesterday? Tim Couch said it.
Mm-hmm.
Football is what Deshaun Watson loves and does best. And for him to get back to playing a little bit of football may give him a little bit of normalcy back in his life. So from his perspective, I don't think anything changes until the league or somebody says, hey, Deshaun, you can't practice, you can't play. So he goes about business as usual. But for the Browns, the question now is, and this we've talked about it on the show a couple of days in a row. I've gotten a couple of Twitter discussions about it. If he's out for a year, this is a championship roster. Is Brissett a guy who can not necessarily win you a championship, because I don't think there's any guy on the market right now that you can go out and can really win you a championship. Can he get you to the playoffs? And this team's too talented to waste a year of this roster with this salary cap, how it's structured together, to not go, in my opinion, to not go all in to make a run. You have to go find somebody.
364 people in the building. Make sure you hit that like button. This is what we do at the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. When something happens, we jump on. We give you that instant access. Sometimes it might be McNuggets. Sometimes it might be Bull. It could be Jay. That's what the great part about having an extensive team. We pull from all different places, and we get you ready to go, and we'll set up what we can talk about tomorrow, but we want to get that instant reaction here over Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. I was able to pull this up because a couple of people said this. Now, this is Roger Goodell's words. These are his words specifically from what he got from Wilkinson, who investigated what the workplace was like with Dan Snyder. Now, let me see if you feel like the investigation and they were as hard on this. I don't even think they read this. Let's go ahead and talk about it. Can we get that in here? All right. So if we take this, let me make this a little bigger, right? So here's what we'll do. This is, let me see if we can make that go away. Now, this is what Beth Wilkinson said, right? Wilkinson interviewed more than 150 people. Most of them were current and former employees of the club, and many of whom conditioned that their name be redacted for anonymity. She interviewed owner Dan Snyder twice. Now, this goes through a process, and this is what Roger Goodell said as far as what she came up with. Now, think about if the level of scrutiny was the same here as with Deshaun Watson. He says, I want to thank Beth Wilkinson and her team for conducting a thorough and independent review of the Washington club's workplace culture and conduct and providing both club and me with a series of thoughtful recommendations on our fighting. Beth and her team performed their work in a highly professional and ethical manner. It sounds familiar. It sounds like the Sue L. Robinson game. Doesn't it seem like he's getting ready to throw this ruling away too? Okay, most importantly, I want to thank the current and former employees who spoke to Beth and her team. They provided vital information that will ensure the workplace environment at the club continues to improve. Now, he goes on to what she's found. The commissioner concluded that for years, the workplace environment at the Washington football team, both generally and and particularly for women, was highly unprofessional. Bullying and intimidation frequently took place, and many described the culture as one of fear, and numerous female employees responded having experienced sexual harassment and a general lack of respect in the workplace. Ownership and senior management paid little or no attention to these issues. In some instances, senior executives engaged in inappropriate conduct themselves, including demeaning language and public embarrassment. This set the tone for the organization that led to key executives believing that disrespectful behavior and more serious misconduct was acceptable in the workplace. Now, I'm just going, you could read the rest of that, but here's what I'm going to say, McNuggets. You sitting here, he talking about that took place in years. It wasn't one press conference. It wasn't one, it wasn't no I didn't see it. And not only that, Deshaun Watson has all this information put up. Do you know Beth Wilkinson couldn't even do a written report? They told her to give an oral report about what she saw. Now, let me ask you this. A person who's doing that level of an investigation and talk to 150 people, how could you believe that someone could articulate within some measure the amount of information to you by memory, orally? Why don't you want a written report, Roger? Because you don't like paper trails. That's why, Roger. You only like stuff that helps you out. Now, I'm just asking you, tell me in the chat. You tell me, throw the ones and two, throw a one up if you ever heard Roger Goodell say that. Throw a two up if you heard it, right? Because for me, it's a one. When I read that, I said, why ain't I seeing this on TV? Why haven't I seen this on the internet? Why is nobody bringing this up? And we still keep going out here talking about Deshaun Watson week in, week out, and he's so strong, so tough. Roger coming in on like the Marlboro Man, sticking up for women. Where was you at when Washington football team was doing all that for years? I'm just saying, maybe it's me.
No, it's not the first time either. It's not the first time either, and it's becomes clearer and clearer by the day that people in power pick and choose the issues that apply to them and makes their point the strongest, and then forgets about them when it goes against them. That's the truth. That people in power have the ability to pick and choose what they want to care about, when they want to care about it, and why they want to care about it. And if it doesn't fit the narrative that they're pushing at this moment, the reality is they're going to turn their back on it. So one day, Roger Goodell in the NFL may say, you know what? Today's the day that we are going to stand up for all women and make sure they are protected and respected, and we will go to the utmost level to punish anyone who harms them, endangers them, puts them in an uncomfortable situation. The next day, he turns his back and says, you know what? That's not what we're standing for today. And it's uncomfortable to know that the most powerful man in football, I mean, he's the most powerful man in football, the man who's paid to protect the owners, the man who's there not just to protect the shield, but to be the human shield for the 32 owners, has the power to pick and choose when, and where, and why things he cares about. Like, it's not – the NFL is so far away from our normal society, G. Bush. Like I always say, football players are aliens because you shouldn't be 6'7", 330 pounds and athletic. Like,
right. You
I'm
should
not
be out there moving around like that.
No, you're a huge G. Bush. You're a massive person. You're 6'4", 6'5", like 305, 310. Like, you're a big dude, and you're tiny compared to some of these dudes in the NFL. Like, NFL players are aliens compared to most normal human beings. The NFL is operating like they're on Mars compared to the rest of us on Earth. The rules are not the same in one league to the other, and I'm not saying they should be because it's a private league versus, a public society, but it shouldn't be so far apart that the common sense that applies to us is foreign language to them. It's
crazy. It's crazy, man. I mean, it's some of the craziest stuff. And I always, and I tell them, I just bring, and because here's the problem I got, McNuggets, and I don't want to get too far down. I don't want to get too far in the weeds on this.
We got a show tomorrow. We got to save some stuff for the show.
We got to save some. We can't give y'all everything. We can't give y'all everything. But I'm going to tell you what. My problem with the situation is this. Sometimes what we get to a point is that the point is we get to a place where we start, like, these guys start having this moral compass where they trying to hit you with the moral clause and you telling myself, hey man, you guys are we want to stand up for all injustice and all that other kind of stuff. Let me ask you a question. Roger Goodell is a man of he wants to be a man of high character. I just would like to know, does the NFL have any moral high ground when they ask these questions all the time? When did you lose your virginity? What? Do you like men? Do you find your mother attractive? Is your mother a prostitute? Would you use a gun or a knife to murder someone? Do you have both of your testicles? This is now, if you're uncomfortable with that, I did that for a reason. Because I'm showing you that that's what they do regularly. Those are questions from the NFL Combine. They're not questions I made up. Those are questions that players have come to the table and say, dude, I'm here trying to run and concentrate on one of the biggest days of my life to come in here and participate in a job interview. And these guys are asking me these questions in a job interview. How can you condone that level of behavior, yet and still you want to sit up here and be indignant talking about what you can't condone? Your owners and your GMs ask these questions. You can't ask that to people. That's my problem with the whole thing. When you look at it, I look at it like this. It's the process. If the process is something we're going to agree to, let's agree to it. But don't start coming with all this other stuff and acting like, oh, we're the moral compass of the world, brother. We care. Like, the NFL cares. They don't. They don't.
Last point for me, G, and then you get last point, then we'll wrap it up, push it to tomorrow. But
yep.
I said before, Roger Goodell is the face of the NFL. He's the face. When you see the shield, you don't think of Roger Goodell, but he is the highest order of protection with the league. And what he is there to do is be a human like a human body shield for the owners. And I think part of the reason the NFL, and when I say part, I think a larger part of the reason the NFL is going so gung-ho on making this as difficult for the Browns and Watson as they are, is the fact that Cleveland guaranteed Deshaun Watson $230 million and completely changed up how the rest of the NFL has to structure contracts for not just quarterbacks, but other major stars. And once again, Goodell is the talking head. He's the puppet for the other 31 owners, or 32 really, including Haslam. And when those guys say, hey, screw you, Haslam, screw the Browns, they screw me because guess what? This is going to cost me hundreds of $millions down the line. Goodell has to say, okay, what can I do to make these guys happy? Because I don't answer to the players. I don't answer to the league. I answer to the 32 owners in that meeting, including a new one in Denver who's worth $70 billion. who's about to have to pay Russell Wilson a lot of guaranteed money. So I do think, and we're going to talk about this tomorrow too, I do think the fact that Cleveland guaranteed $230 million and completely reset and restructured the entire market for how NFL teams pay contracts, and the owners, remember, these guaranteed contracts, a lot of them come up in escrow and a lot of them come at exactly once. So it's not like it's $230 million spread over 4 years. It comes in $46 million a year. That's a lot of money coming out of one guy's pocket. I think that is part of the reason they are so gung-ho on dragging this out, and they're willing to release some of their dirty laundry, because if it goes back that Watson gets screwed and they don't like the fact that just this first year is $1 million, it turns into maybe the owners in the long run being able to avoid giving out those guaranteed contracts and them in the long run saving money. It's all about, at the end of the day, follow dollars. It's all about money.
Hey man, listen. Listen. Let me. You just gave me chills a little bit, man. At the rest of y'all show, step your producer game up. Our producer kick game harder than your host. Our producer's monologues is better than your afternoon drive cats, dog. This is what I'm talking about. You brought them real facts to the table. You listen. That's the Freemason Illuminati talk right there. You say it ain't even about that. It's about that bag, and you are exactly correct. See, the NFL does two good things, right? The NFL has always been about lowering cost. And when you talk about organizations, me being in corporate America, one of the biggest costs is manpower. And guess what? Manpower hours are dominating in the NFL. Think about it like this. Why do you think they come up with all kind of different things and they tell you what's valuable, what ain't? They didn't already told you running backs ain't valuable. You get any of those. They tell you right before this year, before they started really like rethinking it, receivers never got no big time money. The only player that the contracts consistently elevate and escalate is the quarterback position. That is why they call it the face of the franchise, because they understand that it's the driving force in nature of the entire league. Now, when you give one of the quarterbacks, you give a quarterback that amount of money and it's guaranteed. If they would have said, we're just going to give it in a bonus, that's cool. But it's fully guaranteed. You don't think that Lamar Jackson said, oh, note to self, I want an MVP around here. I ain't got no off-the-field issues. And by the way, because the way it's set up, I don't need an agent. I just got to go. All I could do is read. Who got the last contract? Oh, 240? I want 242. That is what it's about, is keeping labor low. The Browns messed that up. And now we are where we are, McNuggets. A beautiful dance.
And one last point on that. The issue with the guaranteed contracts, I see a couple of people in the chat saying, why is the contract such a big deal? It was approved. It was approved, but the issue is not every owner has the same amount of money. And some owners can pay guaranteed contracts and they can drop out $100 million at a time and not flinch. Other ones don't have all that money in cash. It's all in assets and liquid. And I'm not a financial guy. I'm not a bank guy. But it's not as easy for some of those guys to pay it, so that's why they're pissed. Hopefully that clarifies some of the people. I see Cleveland Rocks was asking in the chat if it was approved, why is everyone so mad? That's why they're mad. They don't want to pay $150 million upfront on the dot when all their assets are tied into property, real estate, and it's not liquid.
If we on the Ultimate Cleveland,
and it's not the Browns' problem. You are right. It's not the Browns' problem. But other people can be mad at the Browns because they have the issue that Cleveland doesn't. The Haslam's are loaded. The Haslam's could drop a billy without flinching. That's
a great point. And we'll wrap it up with this, because it's like, look, we all, like, I'll give you a perfect example. An Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, we on the show. If management comes in and says, you guys got to pay $300 for parking, right? But we need it today. Me and McNuggets is like, you got to wait on that. I got to plan my stuff. I got to put something aside, not pay one of these dudes till next month, and then get you, maybe I'll break that in installments. But if you dealing with people who've been in an industry, who already got another job.
If Jay
was like, they hit Jay with the 300, he good.
Let me get my wallet. Hey, there you go. We're good. We're good.
If they hit Brad with the 300, all right, let's roll. Even if they hit Bull with the 300. He gonna be mad as hell. He might give a rant, but he might tell you he ain't gonna pay it, but he go home and pay it, right?
Yeah.
Man, there's certain cats that ain't gonna be able to, and that's the same exact way. Yeah, y'all might look at it as like y'all all on the same show. Y'all should all have it, but in the reality, everything ain't created equally. Just like owners, Some people got their money liquid. Some people is trust fund babies. Some people, that's all they do is the NFL, like the Browns, Mike Brown in Cincinnati. So we just breaking down the schematics of it. But listen, I want to thank every single one of y'all. It's a blessing. 478 people in the chat. Make sure you guys hit that like button. If you don't subscribe to the channel, man. We give you grassroots stuff right here. We jump on, we give you lives, and this is just the front part of this, right? We're gonna see we got some stuff coming up in a couple weeks. Keep it live. Trust me. This is not the only thing we doing on the lives. It's coming. Y'all gonna be really excited to see it. But we'll talk to you tomorrow. G. Bush, Mikey McNuggets. We will get to y'all. We'll come back and talk to you guys later. Make sure you tune in tomorrow. Tomorrow. What is it?
G. Bush,
Tuesday?
how many hours? How many hours? Do the math.
22. Look, I got it. Look, 22, man. Don't mess this up, man. All right, man.
Hey, follow us on Twitter. Hit the like button to subscribe. It's at GBush91, right?
Yeah.
It's
with GBush91. All that.
TV. Yeah, hit it. Follow us on Twitter. This is not ending tonight. It's gonna end tomorrow. So we'll see y'all then.
Appreciate y'all.
Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, and so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show. Booyah!